So the topic starts with the corporate responsibility. So when we are doing this topic, me, Taslim and Ram, we sat together and thought about that what is this corporate responsibility. There is a huge thinking on us that how a corporate is responsible for our being, like how it is impacting us, where it is going through. So there were some ideas that came up that it is like the stakeholders who it is responsible to us in a society, how it is going to impact. So how it all started, like how the historical influence came. So we all started around 1800s when the Industrial Revolution was going on. So during this Industrial Revolution, what was happening was that all these corporates were starting to build up. So it was a phase where all the thought process or all the concentration was on the profit maximizing management phase. This is a phase which they call upon. And this article was written by Archie B. Carroll, which we have took as a research which we got right. So what happened was when this industrialization revolution started, they just wanted to have all their labors to be productive. They wanted to generate more revenue, more profit, and more benefit from it. So in that process, what was happening? The condition of the laborers were deteriorating. It had deteriorated a lot, that they were kept in some bad conditions and in some bad habitats. So like their productivity was going down. So what the industrialists came up with that with the process that they should have some hospital, clinics, and some houses, cities, town built for their laborers, so that they would be concentrated, so that their health will be kept in the check, and they will be more concentrating on their job rather than looking after their own condition. So in this process, these regulation centers were built up so that they will come up with some different process. So now the phase went on to take over a change. So it went on to the phase of trusteeship phase. So in this phase, what was happening? The corporation realized that they need to maintain a balance between the stakeholders, their shareholders, and their customers, their employees. They were related to the society as well, but they were not thinking of that position like that they are responsible for the society, but in fact they were. So what happened was there were a lot of resources that were present at that time, like mines, oil fields and all. So these were the resources that were to be tapped. Now what happened, these mine fields were at the mine fields, most of the time there was a colony or a group of people that will be localized, staying there. So at that time, to bring them to get to their work, they started to build a trusteeship. Like they are not the owner of that mine because they were not living. They just searched for it and received that thing. They found that thing and want to exploit it. Just because now their exploitation would work, they started to give some incentive to the work, to the people who are staying there. On that note, when these people who were not well educated also, they started to exploit them on their basis and took over that mines, which for example we took. Okay, so now what happened, that mine actually they are just a trustee, they have given the ownership. Now this statement, the one who controls the resource or asset is not a owner but a trustee who is given control of the resource or asset by the society. This time was said by Mahatma Gandhi. What was his thinking at that time? That the benefit should come to the society, not to the government or any other company, like the East India Company was doing in India at that time. So this was a seed that was being planted at that time. Now that phase changes when we reach around 1930s. The East India Company was, for example, was shaken by the revolution or revolt that was going on over that time. So this was a phase that they thought that yes, there might be a change, we need to think about something else. So now the society came into the limelight. They were not thinking at the time. Now they know that the corporate social responsibility started to come up. Now this shape that was taking off was followed by these people who want to build a faith among the group of societies that they are doing something good to them. Now, corporations were feeling obliged to serve the society. Like they are at the top of the hierarchy, they are there, and they see that these people are going to help them. So the basic thing was that there should be some means, like it was explained, there should be means of production that should be set up so that these guys will work upon. So these guys at that time started to build up institutions to teach them, to educate them, so that the machines which they will be bringing from outside will be helpful, or they will be making it in the country itself will be helpful in getting them profit. So this phase was kept there. Now what happened was, when this phase was going on, lot of counter attacks came from the other social communities, that the markets, this corporation were eating a lot of money and not providing any benefit to the society. Now one case was there of Goldman Sachs, that market. They said that these guys are able to predict the market movement just because most of the people who are the client are their customers, and they are trying to ask them where should you go. And these guys, Goldman Sachs, they try to provide them the goals or the markets where they should go. So in the sense, they were only attracting the money to a place where they would gain more profit. So at the time, some companies started calling them robbers, thieves, and all. So these guys, what they grouped up and start forming a group. The group struggle started there. So what happened? They started a struggle and went on to the government to see the government that there should be some laws passed for them, so that they should gain more revenue or generate more profit. In this phase, what happened? When the government passed some laws or legalities, they become more irresponsible. On that note, when they started becoming more irresponsible, the economy started to collapse. When the economy started to collapse, the people started to know that what the truth is, and the faith of the people on the corporation was finally lost. This was the phase when the economy after this went on to a great depression, and someone somehow had to take the responsibility, and it was the government who took the responsibility on bringing them up. Now Taslim will come up with some examples of how this went on.
Sushant has given you overview of how the corporations, how he has moved from corporations to the economy, like how from small picture to the big picture. Now let's see what happens when the actual CSR, what happens when corporations wants to do CSR, and what happens at the backstage. The issue around 2005 was like there were the main issue was tax haven. Like people were not paying taxes, corporations were not paying taxes. So how the corporations were managing that? So it's actually easy. So what they were doing is like they were donating some money to NGOs and some corporations, social corporations, and they were filing for the exemption from income tax. Now what were they doing is like they were taking back that money from those corporations and giving some share to them. So this is one part. Another part is like in case of specific city London, where the law is like the residents of the London city, they were exempted from the foreign source income. So a billionaire, they were preferring to stay in London, earning in the foreign countries, and saving the taxes. Another is like the information asymmetry or information exchange gap between the countries. The example which we all know is the Switzerland, which doesn't share the information regarding the money which people keep in their banks. So the picture clearly tells what people choose in context of tax money. The next example is of country France, where the main problem starts with the name itself. Like Shakespeare said, what's in the name? But here the problem starts with the name. They are basically confused about the responsibility, accountability, and liability. So it's like they should do it, or somebody else will provoke them to do it, or what? Like they are confused. And the word social, it has actually divided into two adjectives. One is social, which is mainly related to the labor related issues, and the other is the societal, which is related to the mainly stakeholders and their interest in the organization. So they are basically confused like which kind of social responsibility it is. It is for laborers or in the interest of the stakeholders. Also the French people, they were dependent on the government to push forward to work towards the CSR area. So French government passed a legislation which indicated 40 social and environmental indicators to be disclosed in the corporation's financial statements. But the problem here is that like what were they showing in their statements that cannot be traced, and there were no external audits to trace that or to trust it. So these are the main issues related to France. The next example is the mining industry. It's basically related to the continent Africa, wherein around 2005 responsible jewelry council was set up to address the issues related to mining and the diamond sourcing in the conflict area. So what was the problem? The main problem was it's like the workers who were working in the mining industry, they were living in so much poor conditions. They were more prone to the diseases, health issues. So they are working barehandedly, where they are exposed to the mercury, lead, this kind of metals. So what RJC proposed is the certification system, which will provide a certificate to a mining industry over there to grant it. It's like grant to show them as this is the responsible mining industry or responsible mining corporation in this area. But the fault there is that it cannot be traced. So it's like they were doing the audits and they were not disclosing the information to any other corporation. The case was like when NGOs asked about the credibility of their audits, they were refused to disclose the information. So the main challenge was to effectively manage the ASM mining areas. ASM is the artisanal and small mining areas, and its risk with respect to the CSR area. Now, with respect to cosmetic industry, cosmetics, it has tremendous potentials to work in the CSR area because it uses the most artificial things in its products. So in 2009, beauty organic award was added in the beauty events, beauty industry events, and the winner AG, which won the award, it was the sole winner which works towards the local community to to be responsible for the CSR, like the CSR activity, and the rest of the winners, they have just won because of the political issues and their political connections. Now another thing is the LFS Research Symposium, which was held to discuss on the cosmetic contribution to the emotional well-being of the women. So the study was done where the women where it comes out that the women were dissatisfied with their physical appearance. So what cosmetic industry does is like, for example, from 1915 they started to promote their products to remove the objectionable share for women. So this is how they have marketed a product, and the main thing is like they are promoting the artificial products, but they are doing nothing in the area to prevent the natural beauty or the natural plants in the area. So what they need to do is to look into the environmental aspects while doing the marketing of the product. The next is the environmental issues related to CSR.
Continuing the cosmetic irresponsibility, top FMCG companies, not only in India, across the globe, exploit cosmetic irresponsibility. HUL has 30 brands in India, close to 30 brands in India. Among them, 11 are more than 1,000 crore brands, 8 are 500 plus crore brands. But close to 20-25% of their total profits come from only one brand, that is Fair and Lovely. It is the most exploited, most profitable brand to them in India, and not only in India, across African countries. The gross margins are as high as 80% in Fair and Lovely. Now looking at the impact on climate, it is of two things. One is what first world, that is developed countries, want us to perceive, and what it is being done in the action. There was a summit in 2009 where the people met to discuss about global warming, how they can see that the temperature doesn't increase substantially in the near future. But there has not been taken any firm action on those summits. They met there, they wanted to discuss, they wanted to come to some conclusions, but they did not come to quantitative conclusions like what a specific country needs to do in this regard, or what a specific organization needs to do in this regard. GCC, it is a coalition of 50 top automobile, coal and trading companies, chemical companies, which consisted and lobbied for not committing the countries, their specific countries, to binding what they need to bind. And in the carbon emissions, that is most of the air conditioners use chlorofluorocarbons. In those emissions, there is a double counting. There is a double counting in carbon emission trading. Corporations among themselves can trade carbon emissions, so there is double counting. Let's say US pays to China, let's say $1 billion to stop one hazardous plant. It is counted in US account that it has saved worth X emissions, carbon emissions, and it is also counted in the Chinese account that it did not produce X emissions. So there is a double counting of carbon emissions in the carbon trading. And this is the porous steelworks, which is taken over by the Tatas. Just by the carbon trading, over the 3 years, they saved close to $1 billion. It's actually 600 million pounds. And there is a large secondary market for carbon emissions, which is close to 500 million pounds. There is a debate right now that whether carbon trading should be there, or there should be a carbon charge on the corporation. To say carbon charge, it's like a tax. How much you produced, based on that you will be taxed. That is the carbon charge. Here there is a large debate. This is like, there is environment for everybody's need. So developed world can sustain with that, developing world can sustain. But if everybody wants to have a greed, then it is not sustainable. This is directly extracted from today's Business Standard newspaper, where there is a Montreal Protocol. It is about the chlorofluorocarbons again. So government doesn't want to send its high officials where they need to go and come in. So what developed world wants to do is they want to reduce chlorofluorocarbons across the globe. So they want that to be done by India, China and all developing countries. So let us see what is in it for them. So the upgraded technology which doesn't use the so-called chlorofluorocarbons, that is patented, and those companies are in the developed countries. So those companies will get close to 90,000 crores of revenue. And these are the some, this is a research from that, what is the perception about CSR and the employees. So why does a company wants to do CSR? There are few things in their mind. The topmost when a company does CSR is its perceived brand value. Second thing is its impact on employees. So every company wants to have a committed employees. So how employees perceive as CSR, that plays a very significant role to the companies whether to do CSR or not. And this is the perceived impact on clients, that is their suppliers as well as consumers. End consumers always prefer a CSR perceived sort of company to non-CSR, and in the other value chain, that is their suppliers, also it has a large impact. We will take 3 more minutes.
My daughters will soon have to be married. What would I do? Then one day, a group of people brought a man to the village. The man opened his box, and inside were lots of things. We will give you things to sell. Sell them in your village or in nearby villages. For every package you sell, you can keep some money. The company people showed us how to sell the packets, how to run our own business, how to educate others. And from that moment, my life changed. Every month I get to keep 750 or even 1500 rupees. But there's something more important than money. When people see me coming to their village, they rush and crowd around me. They call me Shakti Amma. Everybody knows me. I'm someone now, and I can begin to have big dreams. I want to have a Shakti shop with lots of packets. Every day I will sell. Every day I will earn money and respect. My daughters will get married. They will.
This is the Shakti Amma concept of HUL, which is perceived to be one of the most impactful programs in the women empowerment. This story which comes to the media or which companies project to the stakeholders world is only one of the stories. It is only one of the stories. There are close to 70,000 Shakti Ammas in India right now, and most of them are not this profile. This is only one of the stories. And Gundappa ad campaign, Lifebuoy, I think everybody knows. That is also only one of the stories. These are very rare stories. The realities are that a supervisor gets 20 women, he gets assigned to 20 women, he needs to control, he is responsible for the business of 20 Shakti Ammas. So he cannot have, so he goes, what is his shortcut? I'll tell you. He goes to those villages, wherever he finds a small retail kirana store, he will ask that man, his wife, to become a Shakti Amma. It's as shortcut as that in the reality. So technically 70,000 Shakti Ammas doesn't exist. There is no 70,000 women got empowered through this program. Thank you.
Okay, so final conclusion hypothesis which we eventually found was like corporation responsibility which started in around 1940s or 80s, they started off. So it was like they started off building a preaching or building a faith among the people. It's like religion used to do. When the Catholic Church was having more power, they used to preach the word, and it was a place, the church was like a place where all the belief was on them. It was like a fatalism. They all believed in fate, that what they didn't believe in work. They thought that eventually we will be drawn by our fate and we will reach there. Somehow, when the Protestant came into the scenario, they told that the work ethics is different. You need to do your work. Anyhow, you will go on to reach to your fate. So this was happened on that time, and they started preaching it so that they gain the faith and try to build on them. Now, what happened when corporate or the Catholic Church, when it gained the power of this faith, they started to exploiting them. They started to take the money from them. Eventually, corporate also does that. What they do when they have got this faith, they started to exploit them. They become irresponsible, which somehow we don't know why this corporation is doing that. Now, when this starts, process of exploitation goes on to a limit, there is a turmoil, like the Great Depression we had. Now, on that Great Depression, this was basically because of the irresponsibility of the corporation, not because of us. Now, all the people at that time came together to show us that why the corporation are failing. They knew that this was because only of the corporation that these guys had let the economy down and led us to the inflation that we are facing. Now, when they saw this, they wanted the government to take the power. Now, the government role was to bring in some policies, legalities, FIS, FDIs, which they brought in to have control over them. This control was eventually because the people were thinking that somehow someone will take control. Eventually, they didn't take. So what happened is they just shift their faith on someone else. So government took the faith from them and they started responding. Now this cycle which we are on, now it will lead to again the corporate responsibility, because the government will start performing and the corporate will start again to take the faith away from the government. They want the faith of the people. They want to grow more. They want their power. So this is what we think, and this is our final.
Thank you. Thank you everyone. Thank you very much.